Thank you, Anna, for interrupting my tweeting temporarily. That's what I was sitting up here doing, not my homework. Thank you so much. Just to continue what Charmaine was saying about the hardening and the death of euphemisms, I don't know how many of you are aware, because frankly, only about National Review Online was covering it, but Andrew Cuomo the other day, the governor of New York, is anybody from New York? Basically wrote pro-lifers out of the state and described us as right-to-lifers, saying that there's no room for that point of view in the state. But that he used the phrase right to life, I thought was remarkable and speaks something to the lack of engagement and almost a confirmation that that side doesn't have good arguments. It doesn't really want to argue, just wants you all to go away. But of course we're not leaving. New Yorkers are leaving the Empire State for today, for the march, but they'll be back, and they have a very strong presence, thankfully, as pro-lifers do nationally. I did have to laugh when I saw Rolling Stone had discovered AUL's stealth war about abortion. While I'm delighted they're noticing the rigorous legislative work of pro-lifers today, I do think they missed the story in the headline, which frequently happens in our short attention span culture. Sometimes the headline is everything, which is a very humbling thing for a writer who writes more than headlines to say. What we're doing here today, what so much of the work of so many of the people in this room today is about tenderness. You heard that in some of our speakers already, and love, compassion and help, reason and clarity, science, and a robust public witness to the dignity of human life in visible, practical, life-saving, and enduring ways. Clark Forsyth tells the truth of the history in his new book at a time 41 years after Roe was decided, where most Americans are not just ignorant of how Roe v. Wade came to be, but what exactly it is. We are not a people, as you all know, who held a vote and chose this, and we're not even a people fully aware of the preference toward abortion that our brutal cultural reality of changed expectations and false notions of freedom has led to. As Anna mentioned, a little over a year ago, I was invited by Pope Benedict to receive a message. The letter said, "For women throughout the world." Because the invite letter literally said that, and because of the power of the words, I try to share it as much as I can when appropriate. It was actually a message that had been delivered by Pope Paul VI at the end of the Second Vatican Council. And I think it's safe to say it wasn't heard in the 60s or the 70s or subsequent decades. So we try again to listen and live this and believe it. The message said, just in part, "You women have always had as your lot the protection of the home, the love of beginnings, and an understanding of cradles. You are present at the mystery of life beginning. You offer consolation in the departure of death. Our technology runs the risk of becoming inhuman. Reconcile men with life, and above all, watch carefully over the future of our race. Hold back the hand of man who in a moment of folly might attempt to destroy human civilization." And then it concludes, "Women of the entire universe, whether Christian or non-believing, you whom life is entrusted at this grave moment in history, it is for you to save the peace of the world." That's what the Catholic Church thinks about women, FYI. This no small role. And this is, of course, is not only a task for women, but we who love life, who see humanity, the humanity of the most vulnerable, must celebrate the unique gifts of women in rebuilding our culture together with men. We have tremendous opportunities right now. Not to be too papal this morning, and I'm not going on for much longer, but I think the fact that Time magazine thought Pope Francis relevant enough for their year-end cover is a confirmation of a lot of things we know about the renewal going on in our churches, in our communities, and even a little bit in Washington, D.C. The media, of course, misses when Pope Francis drops in on a pro-life march in Rome, as he did this spring, or when he says, "In all its phases and at every age, human life is always sacred and always of quality, and not as a matter of faith, but of reason and science." But like John Paul II, he's helped evangelicals and Catholics and so many other human rights leaders work together, I think, who help defending human life. Pope Francis is opening doors for us to enlighten, to talk about true freedom, and move us away from the poverty of the false conflict that so many speakers have talked about already between the mother and the child in our culture. And our culture is too content with being indifferent to this, or worse. To talk about the science, the Pope even points to, and to talk about what we can do practically, politically, because we're not without solutions. This is indeed a time of and for new frontiers in making our culture more hospitable to life. AUL's Women's Protection Project is important because in providing legislative models to protect women and children, we can build family life and create a whole different kind of culture, the kind of culture so many of you model with your own lives, because this isn't just a job for you. Now, I'm so delighted to be here with these distinguished panelists, whose bios, of course, I have put at the bottom of the pile very conveniently, so I can gracefully bring them to the top. First, we're going to hear from Carter Sneed, who I've known for years, and am delighted that he has an important spot at the University of Notre Dame on the faculty and also director of a great bastion of pro-life and ethics there. We also have with us today Dr. Monique Chareau, who is a doctor doing important work in obstetrics and gynecology at Duke University, and is an unabashed defender of clarity on human sexuality, talking about abstinence and many other important issues that as a previous speaker has mentioned, there's just a scandalous lack of medical research and discussion about so many aspects of human life, women's health, which is really one of the big scandals of our time. That even one writer, Mary Eberstadt, has likened to the Cold War and the deniers during the Cold War. You just see science in front of you and won't talk about it. And then finally, we have Attorney General Scott Pruitt from Oklahoma, who is a great pro-life warrior on the state level, really showing a model of what legislators can do, what civil servants can do to help make the culture more hospitable to life. So we're going to start with Carter, give him the podium to talk a little bit